doing is teaching. And so I consider myself an educator. People ask all the time, do you miss teaching? And I tell them, no, I get to teach every single day alongside people who are rowing in the same boat on the same mission. And our mission is to inspire healthy living around the world. And we do that with a number of resources, including healthy lifestyle, mainly through nutrition, but there are actually several different modes in which we use for that. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to share my screen with you, and boom, going to optimize for sound as well. And if you can see my screen, give me a little thumbs up here. Good. It should say, what does good health mean to you? Awesome. Okay. So this first slide here, what does good health look like to you, and what does it mean to you? And a very expensive study that our affiliates at the Heart Attack and Stroke Prevention Center did. It cost something like $3 million to do this study, showed that at the end of the day, people really want two things. They want to look good and they want to feel good. And so this is what my life looks like right now. This is obviously me flipped upside down, with my brother on the right, his wife Karen over here on the left, my baby niece Samantha, who I'm going to see on Monday, coming up here in 3 days. I'm actually jumping on a flight to Hawaii with them, and going to be living there for a month. And I'll think I might come back sometime in January, unless they keep me there. And this is my baby nephew, little James here. So this is basically my one of my big whys of why I do what I do. I'll come back to this picture later, but some of you have heard of the hashtag or phrase juice plus babies. Raise your hand if you've ever heard that, or type in the chat there. You know, that's juice plus babies. That's a very common phrase that I like to use, and you hear more about that later. This next slide here shows you us having some fun down in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where they live. And you might be wondering, what is that thing in the background? We're going to share a little bit more about that. But full grown, what that looks like in about 3 to 4 weeks is what you see on the right-hand side. And this is my good friend, Shelly. She's down in Florida. She's also a fellow teacher. She does elementary, where I did high school. As Lisa said, we partner ourselves and align ourselves with a company called Juice Plus. So we appreciate you coming and learning more about that too. That is one of the tools that we use here at the Heart Attack and Stroke Prevention Center. As Lisa said, I'm a retired school teacher, taught human anatomy, biology, chemistry, environmental sciences for about 14 years. And now I work with one of the top cardiologists here in Ohio, one of the top dentists here in Ohio, and they actually merge under the same roof. It's a partnership between medicine and dentistry. And we recommend to all of our patients the 6 healthy lifestyle hacks that I'm going to share with you today. You can see down below, when I'm not working, I love playing. And when I play hard. This is me this past summer up in the Glacier National Park. I love climbing glaciers. This is the 4th time I've been out there, so I spent about 8-9 days up there. That's Heaven's Peak, all the way at the top, 10,000 foot climb. And you can see my shirt here. That's my current church, Rock City, over here in Columbus, Ohio. I also do a bunch of different ministries. In the past, I've done youth ministry for 10 years, and then I shifted over to singles ministries. And then I shifted up to just anyone included in there. I think a lot of my friends that were married and had kids were asking, Henry, we see all of these Facebook posts that look so fun. Why can't we come? And really, like, the only thing holding them back was that the word singles in the ministry. So I opened it up to everyone. It's a citywide ministry. I had a game night the other night before COVID. 150 people showed up, had a movie night where we had a giant screen put up in the parking lot, and we ended up having 600 people show up to watch Frozen. So I love event planning. And this is something that allows me to apply those gifts in the realm of health and nutrition. And so these are some of our events that we do now. We apply the same fun atmosphere to salad in a jar parties and healthy meal preps. We encourage each other on building healthy kids and babies and changing their cravings. And so this is part of my team here. Here in Columbus, Ohio, and you can see that little tower garden, or big tower garden rather, in the back. And a lot of times we used to pre-COVID, right? And hopefully we'll get back to this. If any of you have been to conferences before, this is how much fun we have at conferences. And again, we love to work hard and play hard. And that word harmonize means that instead of looking at it as a balance beam, because when I do my coaching, then oftentimes a lot of our students mention, oh yeah, I need balance in my life. And it's not necessarily about balance, because balance means, oh, well, if I work, then that means that my home life and my family life and maybe my faith life is going to hurt because of that. And if I work on my faith, then maybe my family starts hurting. And so it's not about balance beam, give and take. It's about how do I harmonize all of that together. And so knowing that my father, and my father's side and my mom's side, I have some grandparents that passed away, one from Alzheimer's when I was very young. I work with the Kemper House of Worthington, which is Alzheimer's and dementia assisted living. And this is one of our favorite phrases there. When we grow our food and try and feed the residents there. Our brain is our garden, and the roots are nurtured by the food that we eat. That's my friend Caitlin there. And so I want to start by showing you a couple pictures here that you might recognize. As the past times, healthy living used to be pretty simple. We used to be able to play in the background, enjoy the sun, eat fresh food, drink from the water hose, get good rest. But now with all this craziness that's going on, unfortunately, fast food has taken over the world. It's so convenient and cheap on every corner. Instead of going outside and enjoying the playing in the sun, then we have screen time. And kids that are in, sixth grade, fifth grade, third grade, first grade have cell phones, and they busy themselves with iPads and different gaming systems instead of actually playing with family outdoors. And instead of drinking from the hose and clean water, it's so convenient to just grab a 12-pack of Coke. And instead of getting good rest, then people are all stressed out with the different things that are going in our political world, things that are going on in the health world with all this pandemic stuff. And people are exhausted, they're busy. And beyond that, when we look at our solutions of feeding ourselves with healthy food, we have something called desertification, which means that basically the food that we used to be able to eat looks like this, and that land is being depleted. And so since we know that we're not eating good food, then we turn to preserved foods, boxed foods that have all sorts of preserved flavors and artificial fillers and all sorts of different emulsifiers and growth hormones. And so we've turned to eating vitamins in order to fill in this gap that we know we miss. And the truth is, no one eats vitamins because they taste good. No one eats vitamins because they just like to swallow things. They eat vitamins. If you ask anyone, why do you eat vitamins? They're going to tell you, well, it's because I don't eat well. I know I don't eat well. And so we're going to give you some simple solutions today. I have a couple people in my life who say, you know what, and you might relate to this, I eat well already. I eat lots of fruits and vegetables. And that's great. Awesome. We commend you for that. Did you know, though, that many of your foods come from out of state, or even worse, out of the country? They travel thousands of miles, and before they get to your stomach, they have to be redistributed, transported, to grocery stores, sit on the shelf, and then they sit on your shelf. So by the time they make it into your belly, then they lose many times up to 40% of their nutritional value. And so back in the day, when it used to be easy to access food, now we know that we should be getting at least 7 to 13 servings of fist-size fruits and vegetables. But the truth is, that's pretty difficult. And whether you are one of the unhealthiest people or the healthiest people, you would agree that eating healthy can be challenging. So I shared with you that there are a couple things that we can do. These are the 6 life hacks that I say we can use to protect our bodies. And you can take these with a grain of salt, because there's some of us that do these really well, and some of these can be substituted a little bit with some other synonyms. But in general, these are the 6 things that we need. If you look at the left-hand side, exercise, and in the terms of what we're going through today, I'm going to speak to immune systems, because I know that that is on our minds. Raise your hands or indicate your thumbs up if you have ever felt in 2020 anxiety or overwhelm or confusion or anticipation. So in terms of immune system, exercise, that movement, moves all those nutrients around, it moves all the waste around, and we actually have a system of vessels that are parallel inside of your body. They're parallel to the blood vessels. It's called lymph, and lymph carries, it's an information highway for your white blood cells. And so in order to really get those white blood cells moving all over to the extremities of your body, you need to be in motion. And so we recommend that you work out at least 3 to 4 times a week. And that could be in the form of some cardio, that could be just in the form of walking around your house. But some of you have heard the phrase, raise your hand if you've heard this, sitting is the new smoking. Sitting is the new smoking. So where they get that phrase is your cardiovascular health, which is what we look at the Heart Attack and Stroke Prevention Center primarily, is when you are not in motion, then because of the inflammation that's in our bodies, then it doesn't have the chance to subside. And so by exercising, you're flushing your body. Resting is the second one, that sleep from 7 to 8 hours. I know out of all 6 of these, this is the one I do worse. Not just because I am anxious, but mostly because of all the great things that are out there. I tend to have something called FOMO. Have you guys ever heard of FOMO? Fear of missing out. I look at all these great things that I want to do on my bucket list, and I get up and I do them instead of sleeping. But on the other hand, a lot of people, it's not necessarily the quantity of sleep, it's their quality of sleep, because they're staying up and watching all these things on the news, seeing horrible things on Facebook, and they're not getting the rest that they should be getting. That goes right along with the third one here, and I noticed my good friend Sarah Oben. Give a little wave out there, Sarah. She does this so well. She's actually helped me a lot with her and her business partner, David Young, in managing stress. They are life coaches. They do mindful meditation. If you've ever heard of that before, I would definitely suggest either reaching out to, you can reach out to Sarah, she's in the chat there, or you can Google that. But managing stress is so important, because mental stress, physical stress, spiritual stress, your brain handles it the same way. And so whether you cut off your arm, or you're going through a divorce, or you have been sick and in isolation and your family has been avoiding you, your body responds in the form of oxidative stress. And we'll come back to that term. That's a buzzword that we use in our company, because really that's the root cause of inflammation and all chronic disease. The bottom left here is drinking water, and drinking water, cannot emphasize that enough. Every single person, if you are human, is dehydrated when you wake up. The reason why is because when you breathe out, you can see this in the cold, then you can see condensation. Every cellular activity in the body, especially energy production, produces water. And you either pee that out or you breathe that out. And at night, during those 7 to 8 hours that we get, then you don't necessarily have anything to replace what you're breathing out. So not only does drinking water replace that, but drinking water also helps to flush all your system, especially that lymph. And so it's great to drink tons of water. We say rule of thumb is half your body weight in ounces, in order to make sure that every single chemical reaction in the human body that happens in the presence of water is functioning as God designed it to. The third one here, or sorry, the second one on the bottom, using clean products. There's all sorts of different toxins that are out there. There's toxins in our waterways. There's toxins from our yard, our lawn care. There's toxins that we bring into our household, and we think that it's cleaning stuff, but it's actually hurting us. And so there's all sorts of great natural means of cleaning. And we're going to come back to the bottom left here. You can see a lot of us use lemon juice or lime juice because of their antioxidant properties. They can clean surfaces. And for the same reason, they can clean the inside of you. On the right, this is the big one. This is the big one that we emphasize most with our Juice Plus partners, because food becomes you. How many of you heard of this phrase? By show of hands, or you can type in the chat here, me, or give a thumbs up. You are what you eat. How many of you heard of that phrase? You are what you eat. Oh my gosh. We use and hear that cliche all the time. But how many of us actually take that to heart? You think of the size that you were when you came out of your mom's womb and the size that you are today, right? So when I was born, it was probably around 6.7 pounds. I was a little fireball, and imagine that, right? And all the mass that has accumulated since I was that small, it doesn't come from the air. It doesn't come from magic. It comes from what I put in my mouth. So literally, if you eat cheeseburgers and fries, then you are building your skin, you're building your bones, you're building your brain, you're building your vital organs with the food that you put in your mouth. And so we're going to take a look at some healthy choices and some unhealthy choices of what we use to build our bodies. What if, oh, can I skip slide? Nope, that's it. What if we had the concept that whenever we had a headache, whenever we had, we felt dehydrated, instead of going to the medicine cabinet and injecting ourselves with medicine, we injected ourselves with blueberries? What if whenever we felt nauseous, instead of going to the medicine cabinet and grabbing a bunch of anxiety pills and medicine that was man-made in a pharmacy, then we took food to help our bodies, because food does something for us, whereas that medicine does something to us. And if we're in the hospital, yes, you're right, there is a place for medicine. So I appreciate my doctor friends, my dental friends, because obviously I wouldn't be working alongside them, my colleagues here, if I didn't. And there's a place for that. But if I get hit by a bus, I don't want you coming out and running up to me and saying, hey, let me give you a bunch of fruits and vegetables. Instead, I want you to take away the pain, but also give me fruits and vegetables so I get to cover up the symptom. I don't feel the pain, but I also get to heal at the cellular level. And that's why I love this picture of those beans and lentils and stuff inside of that IV bag. So pump me up with fruits and vegetables so I can get to the root cause and the core of my healing. We're going to come back to this slide here. I also said on some of those flyers there that we were going to look at the 3 keys of evaluating what is healthy out there with all the confusing health information that we see online and we hear on the web on commercials and all that kind of stuff. It comes down to 3 principles, and here is one of the first. So I want to start that first with something called bioavailability. And I don't know why my heading is not appearing up at the top here, but bioavailability means, does it go into the body? And if it goes into the body, then it's usable by your cells. The bad news is we have all sorts of different stress happening inside of our body, and that's something called oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is the root cause of aging. It's the root cause of disease, and we can simply see that when you cut open an apple or an avocado. If you've seen this happen, then type into the chat, apple or avocado, if you know what I'm talking about. Within a matter of a couple minutes, then the cells start decaying. But what we hear all the time is this buzzword called antioxidants, and we have no idea that antioxidants are actually what combats oxidation. So the key is to squeeze antioxidants along those cells, whether it's on the apple or avocado, if you're making guacamole, or if you're putting it inside of your body. And that literally helps to preserve your cells. But the truth is we don't get this because we don't eat enough fruits and vegetables. Coming back to bioavailability, sometimes we take a look at, I'll get to that in a second. So again, antioxidants are the key. And you can see that, again, equivalent with an apple, equivalent to the human body. All right, here's the next one. So when we look at food, we have to consider that there is no such thing as junk food. There's only junk or food. And you can see on the left-hand side, if we know that we're eating junk, then a lot of us supplement ourselves with these isolated vitamins. And those vitamins, because they are not absorbed in the body, then they are not bioavailable. However, there is a solution. If you could take all this goodness and throw it into capsules, which that's what this is, or into a powder that you can mix into a drink, then this is no longer is a drug. It's no longer this is actually food. And so we like to use the word bridge the gap, or the gap in here in the middle. That's really what we're getting after. This is what we do eat, and this is what we should be eating. But the truth is we don't. And so because we know we don't, then we resort to that multivitamin that if you read that label there, it has anywhere from 10 to 20 vitamins and minerals, and they are isolated and megadose. Those 2 words are some of the 2 words that I've learned over the past few years in order to read the ingredient labels on such. If you look at a multivitamin label, you're likely going to see vitamin A. And vitamin A on the left-hand side here in that vitamin pill might say it has 400% of your recommended daily value. Why would you need 400%? Well, it's because it's not bioavailable. We know that your body's not going to absorb all of it. It's going to only absorb a fraction of it. So they pump it up and they make sure that they have more than the recommended daily allowance. However, remember this slide here, we're going to come back to it. What if you were able to not get just 20 of those building blocks, but 10,000 of those building blocks from an apple? There happens to be about 10,000 different phytonutrients in that apple on the right. And so I don't think anyone would argue, is it healthier to eat the multivitamin or is it healthier to eat the apple? In the text, in the chat there, go ahead and type in, which one do you think it is? Is it the multivitamin? Is it healthier, or is it healthier to eat the apple? I'm gonna explain an analogy here. Imagine that your body is a skyscraper, okay? If you're not a building person, architect, then imagine if you're a car person, then say your body is a fancy Lamborghini. the person who designed that skyscraper or that Lamborghini most likely has an inventory of all the building blocks that are necessary to build a solid skyscraper. More than likely, there are a list of maybe 10,000 different building blocks. But if they came to you and said, you know what, we'll build your skyscraper, but you're only allowed to choose 20 of these building blocks. You can't use all 10,000 of them. You are only allowed to choose 20. And so you go about picking out, okay, I'm going to build my skyscraper out of light bulbs, ceiling tiles, drywall, and nails. What's going to happen to that skyscraper? You don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that it's probably not going to work. It'll probably fail. It'll probably crumble, and the foundation is not going to be very strong. And that's what we do when we try to build our bodies out of multivitamins instead of the real deal. But it doesn't stop there, because yeah, you can eat a lot of apples, but just eating apples doesn't suffice, because the truth is our bodies need nutrients from everything, from apples to tomatoes to garlic to parsley to mangoes to bilberries and blueberries and such. And so I'm going to take a second to allow you to type in the chat. I want you to take a look at the variety of color here. How many of these would you say you eat in 1 week? Go ahead and type that in the chat. How many of these different fruits and vegetables do you eat in a single week? I see some of you eyeing the purples down here. If you don't recognize the foods, don't worry. That's all right. If you don't see a fruit or vegetable that you do eat and you don't see it on there, then that's fine. You can still count it, because that's still a fruit and vegetable. Awesome. So I see some people typing in there, 3, I eat 5, I eat 7 of these, or not enough. I'm pretty sure that that is me, me as well. So if you're only eating 5 to 7 different fruits and vegetables in a week, how many of you are eating that in a day? How many of them are you eating for breakfast or for lunch or in a single meal? What if you could flood your body with a variety of over 50 of those before noon every single day? Can you imagine how your cells would respond, how your tissues would repair, how your body would feel and look? And let's not stop there. What if you could also flood your body with over 50 fruits and vegetables an hour before you go to sleep? Because that's when your body repairs. That's when your DNA replicates. You literally are, again, what you eat. And so this is what our solution is. Now, there's many solutions, but we get this asked all the time. How do you possibly get 50 plus fruits and vegetables into your body a day? Like, there's no possible way to fit that volume. Well, on a farm, if you could pick that fruit and vegetable vine ripened instead of 3 weeks prior so you can transport it thousands of miles, you wait till it's completely nutrient loaded. After it's completely nutrient loaded, you wash it at low temperatures, tumble dry it, then you go ahead and grind it up, and within sometimes 20 minutes, you have put it into a pulp and dehydrated all of it, crystallizes sugar, and what you're left with is a very tiny volume. And so this capsule here contains carrots, tomatoes, garlic, cabbage, kale, but that's just the vegetable one. There's 11 different vegetables in that one. What if you could have one for berries? And not just the typical blueberries and blackberries, because I only get those on sale. What if I were to have access to fresh, picked 20 minutes ago, elderberries and bilberries? They don't grow those here in Ohio. So how am I supposed to get those? Well, again, same process, dehydrate them, pack them into a powerful punch into a capsule. And you might be wondering, how do you fit all of that into a capsule? You've got to be kidding me. Like, you fit 11 berries into that capsule too? Think about this. The human body is mainly made of what ingredient? Go ahead and type that in the chat. What is the human body mostly comprised of? Good. So if you said water, you're correct. About how much water? Anyone know? What percentage of water? I see an 80%, 90%. Ooh, someone's really hydrated there. So 70 to 75%, 80% on a good day. We are mostly water weight. So if you get rid of the water, then you can fit a human in a very small vase. We do that all the time. That's called cremation. Well, if you do that with a plant, a fruit and vegetable, they're not just 70, 75%. They are 90, sometimes on the upwards of 95% water weight. And so if we dehydrate a cucumber, we dehydrate a carrot, then we're left with a lot of sugar and all the other phytonutrients. Well, we're after the phytonutrients, not the sugar, especially for pre or diabetic. So we crystallize sugar out, and now we're left with a packed full punch of phytonutrients. And that's what the red fruit, the green vegetable, and the purple berry capsules encapsulate. And that's the process that we go through in order to preserve and deliver all those phytonutrients. And so this is the secret. On the left, these are the different fruits that you can find in the red blend. In the veggie blend, in the green, you can find these 11 vegetables. And on the right, you can find these 11 berries. But if you count them, you're not going to get 50. So you might be wondering, wait a minute, Henry, you said you eat 50 fruits and vegetables before noon. Where do you get the others? Well, that's where this powder comes in. And so there's all sorts of different universities around the world, over 20 of them in different countries, that do studies on the capsules and the drink powders. If you recognize any of these, go ahead and type them in the chat. If you recognize MD Anderson Cancer Hospital in Texas, or Yale University, or King's College, and we're looking at Sydney in Australia, and Tokyo, and Toronto. All of these different medical centers have done third-party, gold standard, double-blind, placebo-tested, published, peer-reviewed studies. That, my friends, is not something that you can pay for. This is what top leading professionals in the health fields are reading in order to heal their patients. And so these are the universities that study and validate, and then they implement. So the research, what does it show? I told you there's 3 keys, right? And those 3 keys, the first one, bioavailability, and then we're going to take a look at research. So not only is it based off of testimonies, because testimonies are great, but it is founded in science. It is not hearsay. It's not based on opinion. It's not because Henry told you so. It's because it works and it's factual. Over on the left, you'll see that it is bioavailable, completely 100% goes through the smalls of the wall and through the walls of the small intestines into the bloodstream. It helps reduce the oxidative stress because of the antioxidants. It combats systemic inflammation, which again is the root cause of all chronic disease. And all of these other ones, we could go into all of those scientific terms, but bottom line is that it doesn't just mask symptoms. It gets to the root cause because it is food. And these are some of the medical journals. If you recognize, if you are a science geek like me, then you'll recognize some of these. We use this one here, the Journal of American Cardiology, a lot over at the Heart Attack and Stroke Prevention Center. And so we know that our patients are benefiting from this. We recommend to all of our patients on both sides of that and the dentistry that they are eating Juice Plus on a regular basis when they wake up in the morning and before they go to sleep, so they can fuel their cells with what God determined and designed them to actually fuel off of. Again, I'm a visual person, so cardiovascular health, right? The elasticity of your blood vessels and making sure that that inflammation is reduced so the plaque doesn't go out and cause a heart attack in future years. The immune system, it increases T cells. For the gum disease, it decreases periodontal disease and that pocket depth. And so that's why all of our patients are recommended that they eat fruit, veggie, and berry capsules. Super easy, convenient to reduce that inflammation and keep out that that anaerobic bacteria. Reducing oxidative stress, again, inflammation, protect your DNA. Your DNA goes through multiple replications every single day, every single minute, every single second. And so being able to replicate the DNA in an exact copy of the original usually happens, but there's mistakes that happen all the time too. And fortunately, our bodies have a miraculous ability to go back through and repair a bunch of that on their own. But unfortunately, we miss those mistakes every now and then. And that's what leads to cancer. That's what leads to different masses and tumors. And so what if there was a way to fuel your cells and repair that DNA so it does replicate exactly? Healthier skin is where I started because 8 years ago when Juice Plus was introduced to me through a series of events, but one of the most unexpected through eHarmony of all places, she started feeding me gummies. I didn't even know that capsules existed. So the gummies that are designed for kids, but I like them too. Write in gummies in the chat if you love the gummies or you have tried those. Those gummies here, fruit, veggie, and berries, after about 3 months, I noticed that my skin that was pitted with acne scars from Accutane and all the acne drugs that I was eating and trying to get rid of my teen years and throughout my 20s, started disappearing. The reason why that disappears is because when you're building the skin from the inside out from what you eat, instead of greasy Burger King 3 times a week, I converted into eating tons of fruits and vegetables, and it started fixing my skin. And you can see some other things over here on the right. Insulin resistance, reducing abdominal fat mass, and etc. So yes, it is researched by universities. Yes, it has results. No, it is not just based on opinion. And the awesome thing is, with those gummies, kids get them for free. So if you love getting free stuff, then type in the chat there, free, because we're going to show you how you can sponsor your own kid or another kid from the age 4 all the way through college, free fruits and vegetables for 4 entire years. And the reason why we say 4 years old is because we want to make sure that those kids that are eating those gummies, they are not choking, they are chewing those gummies. And so that's the only reason why we say 4 years old. But my baby niece that you saw in the first picture that I showed you earlier, we started her on the capsules at 6 months. We literally opened up the capsules, throw it into her baby food, throw it on top of her vegetables now inside of oatmeal, and she actually knows how to do that on her own. So some of you that follow me on Facebook, you've seen some of the videos of us preparing her oatmeal. She reaches in, grabs a scoop of complete, throws that into her oatmeal, opens up a fruit capsule and a berry capsule and mixes that up, and then we heat that up. So the Healthy Starts for Families program with a qualified parent or just an adult order. It doesn't even need to be your parent. It could be a grandparent. It could be an aunt and uncle. You can qualify to sponsor a kid for 4 years to get fruits and veggies. So definitely get back to the person who invited you to watch this call. It doesn't stop there, because we've got this Omega blend that came out about 3 years ago. This is one of our flagships that we use in a multitude of our institutions, because they have found that the plant-based omegas, and not just omega-3s, but omegas-3s, 5s, 6s, 7s, and 9s. If you know what omegas are, or you've heard of omegas, type in omega in the chat there. Omegas are important for every single cell in the body, in particularly heart health, brain health, joints, and skin. And so the outside of cells and the coating of nerves, uh, in fact, like the brain is about 80% healthy fats and cholesterols. And so what happens over time, if you imagine a cord, over time that cord will fray. And because it frays, then electricity can't go from point A to point B. And it's the same thing in your nerve cells. If the fatty tissue that is supposed to be coating that nerve starts fraying over time, then the signal is weakened. The signal may not even go at all. And depending on where that happens in the brain or the body, we call that Parkinson's, Huntington's, ALS, Alzheimer's, dementia. But what if there was a way to coat all of that, to maintain that? And so the older that you get, you don't necessarily age, right? Everyone gets older, but not everyone ages. And so this form of omega, we've been able to find that when comparatively to animal omegas, for instance, the ones that we get from fish, they actually work in the body twice as fast, and you get twice the results. There was a recent study that was conducted that shows that in comparison, you can measure the EPA and DHA in the blood, which some of you, especially if you are moms, know what those two are so important when you are an expecting mom, because those are some of the foundational components that help with developing a baby. And so that phrase that we used before, juice plus babies, if you are feeding yourself, the mother's body, with a ton of fruits and vegetables, if you're eating juice plus, that means that your child and the foundational cells, when they're in the womb, are being made from juice plus, literally from what you eat. And we said before too that that powder doesn't substitute for capsules, but this powder here is, like I like to say, whole food on the go. Because the truth is, I would like to be able to cook a huge meal every single breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but I don't have time to throw in broccoli and radish and alfalfa. I don't have time to go buy chickpeas and millet and quinoa. I don't have time to or the money to buy all this or to fit all that into my system. But what if there was a way to take all these, digest them outside of the body, dehydrate it, and put it into a powder form that you can just reconstitute and then flood your body later? And it's not just drinking it. You could put into energy bites. You can throw it into puppy chow. And so there's all sorts of different recipes that you can use. In fact, the person who invited you to this call has access to a recipe book that has 100 recipes that you could use that is for this complete powder. In fact, there is an event that we created a few days ago called 12 Days of Christmas. And that's 12 Days of Christmas smoothies and shakes. We have over, I think last time I checked, we created on Monday, I think, we have over 3,700 people in that Facebook group. So if you'd like to be added to that group, get back to the person who added you to this call, and we'll teach you how to get the supplies so you're ready for Monday when that comes. All right, now for the real question. We understand the safety, we understand the efficacy with the research, we understand the bioavailability, but really, is this going to break my bank account? And so I've heard before that some people, including myself when I first heard about this, that Juice Plus is too expensive. How many of you heard that before? Show of hands, too expensive? I've heard that from my family, I've heard that from friends, but what they're comparing it to is vitamins. Again, this is food. And so if you compare it to all of those fruits and vegetables that you would buy in a single day or a couple days, then this is actually cheap. It's a fraction of that cost. And really, when you look at how much money that we spend on a daily basis, either at Starbucks or at fast food, what if you took $2.50 and applied it towards something that, let's be honest, is a little healthier than that iced coffee and a lot healthier than that fast food? And so this is a price breakdown, just to make it easy for you to understand. It is affordable. In fact, it's a fraction of the cost that you probably spend elsewhere. And our last thing that I want to share with you, this is our good friend, Dr. Steven Ritz in the background. Yes, Juice Plus is great, but it does not substitute for food. You still get to eat. And so another piece of what we coach with is trying to emphasize the importance of eating fresh fruits and vegetables. And this is one of the tools that we use to do so. This is the classroom that we have installed vertical aeroponic gardening systems. It was invented in 2009. You can see these down in Disney World if you were back at the land exhibit in Epcot Center. But since then, there are over 7,500 schools that have these tower gardens that look like this. There are thousands of homes across America and Canada that have them. There are farms that have hundreds, sometimes thousands of these vertical aeroponic gardening systems that feed a lot of different cities around. Did you know that True Gardens, as in Mesa, Arizona, it's a suburb of Phoenix, they grow a large portion of food that feeds Phoenix. Now, it's not the only thing that feeds Phoenix, obviously, but in the middle of the desert, they don't have access to fresh green food or fertile soil. And so what if you could take these, put them in the middle of the desert like Dubai, and build giant domes that contain dozens of two-story towers that had luscious greens on them? And we teach our kids that the importance of providing a variety of fruits and vegetables from daycares to elementary all the way up through college. That is where you come in. And so if any of this information resonates with you, if any of this stuff prompts any questions that you have, definitely get back to the person who invited you to this call to ask them how you can learn more and get your hands on this, and not just for yourself, but to empower other people that really need it. This last slide I want to share with you goes back to those three keys. The first one, is it bioavailable? And yes, because it is food, it is completely absorbed in the body. It is not a it's not a drug or supplement label. It is a food label. Because it is non-GMO and third-party certified, it is completely safe. And I say safe on the standard of babies, expecting moms, and cancer patients. If it's safe for them, then it's safe for me. But if it has something on the label that says, if you take more than the recommended daily allowance, call poison control, red flag. If it says, do not take without consulting your doctor, red flag. If it says anything about this is not to be consumed if you are under the age of, that's a red flag. There are no labels like that on here because it is completely safe to eat food. The last one here, that third key, besides bioavailability and safety, is it backed up by research, or is it based on opinion? And we already went through that research there. So those are those three keys in order to sift through all the confusing things out there. And I just wanted to show you a couple different options. And these are different packages that the person that invited you to this call can tell you more about. And again, you can see that we're also in Canada and another, I think, 24 different countries around the world, not just the US and Canada. So I'm going to stop my screen share here. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And Lisa, I don't know if you wanted to open it up for questions, but I noticed that it's still recording, so I'll let you take over.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Henry. That was excellent, excellent. Your expertise we love, and just love learning about you and what your heart is and your passion for healthy living and healthy eating and just healthy being. So thank you so much for being our guest tonight. And guys,